Hi everyone, and welcome to The Sleepy Scientist. I'm really happy you're here. Tonight, we're going to go on a calm and quiet trip to learn something amazing. So get comfy, take a deep breath, and let's enjoy this peaceful science story together. Before we start, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from and what time is it for you right now? If you like relaxing science videos, don't forget to tap the like button. Now let's begin. Beneath our feet, the earth hums in a voice too low for our ears. A slow, resonant breath that rises not from lungs, but from the endless exchange between soil and sky. This is not a metaphor for weather or wind, but a literal breath. Carbon exhaled by roots, oxygen drawn in by fungi, moist sighs of evaporation, and deep thermal exhales from the planet's molten heart. Though we rush across highways and tiles, the land under us is never still. It pulses with a rhythm older than memory. Some scientists have tried to measure it. The shallow rise and fall of land as tides tug at the crust. The microseismic murmurs of shifting faults. The quiet trembling of volcanoes asleep but dreaming. Others listen to forests, noticing how trees regulate their stomata, inhaling carbon dioxide as light begins to stretch across the morning sky, then slowing their breath as evening folds in. If you could lie very still in a quiet forest with your hand against the ground, you might almost feel it, that slow planetary respiration, deep and patient, steady as a lullaby. The Earth, some believe, is not just a stage for life, but a participant. This idea, called the Gaia hypothesis, suggests the biosphere, atmosphere, oceans, and lithosphere all behave not as separate parts but as a self-regulating system. A system that behaves in many ways like something alive. The soil, often treated as inert, is in fact a bustling metropolis of interaction. A single teaspoon contains more microbes than there are people on Earth, each bacterium playing a role in a grand invisible choreography. They fix nitrogen, digest the dead, trade nutrients with roots, and send signals that ripple through networks of mycelium. This web, the mycorrhizal network, is often called the Wood Wide Web. It stretches beneath forests and fields, connecting trees to one another like neurons. One tree, sick or stressed, might whisper chemical warnings to its kin. Another, robust and ancient, might send carbon to a shaded sapling struggling for light. These underground messages are relayed through fungal threads, suggesting not only connectivity but intention. And when we see intention in nature, we often begin to wonder about consciousness. Of course, not all scientists agree. Most say these interactions are biochemical, not thoughtful, but the patterns are hard to ignore. Like a brain, the Earth has vast networks, oceans that circulate like blood, wind currents that carry heat like breath, and roots and rivers that echo the slow branching logic of veins. Let's drift deeper now into this strange analogy. Imagine Earth not as a sphere of rock, but as a being with a circulatory system, a nervous system, even memory. Its rivers are capillaries, its forests are lungs. Lightning might be its neural flicker, magnetism its pulse. The ionosphere reacts to solar storms the way a brain might respond to stimulus, with bursts, disruptions, and resetting. When the sun erupts with a coronal mass ejection, the Earth doesn't just receive it passively. The geomagnetic field shields life from the onslaught, adjusting and flaring, sometimes creating auroras, those luminous waves of green and violet that shimmer like dreaming eyelids over polar skies. And if we imagine those colours not as passive beauty but as reflex, we begin to see Earth as something with agency. This poetic frame doesn't deny science, it rests gently beside it, asking questions rather than declaring answers. The more we learn about how ecosystems self-regulate, the more they begin to resemble something living. Consider the way forests pull moisture into the atmosphere, creating clouds that will rain upon them again. Or how coral reefs protect coastlines, feeding fish that then fertilize the sea with their waste. Even deserts, with their quiet resilience, hold seeds that wait decades for a single rain. Blooming all at once in a fever of colour and scent. Each system does not merely exist, it responds. It adapts. It changes with time, not as an accident, but as a process guided by feedback. These cycles, these interactions, could be seen as the reflexes of a greater whole. And if reflex exists, could awareness? That question tugs at something deeper, our need to belong, to not be alone in the vastness of space. To think that we walk upon something not mute but responsive, not empty but conscious in some slow, impossible way. It's not just the Gaia hypothesis that wonders about planetary awareness. In physics too, there are echoes of this idea. Quantum theory suggests that observation changes behaviour, that consciousness and matter are entwined in strange, uncertain ways. And if small particles behave differently when watched, might large systems have a kind of watchfulness of their own? It's speculative, certainly, but consider the fact that Earth keeps life within a narrow temperature range, despite changes in the sun's intensity, or that oxygen levels remained stable for eons, even as species rose and fell. The feedback loops required for such balance are intricate, almost deliberate. Could this be more than chemistry? Could it be the signature of something more? A planet not just inhabited, but animated. We don't have the tools to measure planetary consciousness. No probe can scan for a planetary soul, but we do have metaphors, and they matter. They shape how we treat the world. If Earth is alive, we care for it. If it's conscious, we respect it. If it breathes, we listen. So next time you walk barefoot on grass, pause. Press your palm to a rock warmed by the sun, stand in a storm and feel the static pulse against your skin. In those moments, even if just briefly, you might begin to sense it. That quiet, ancient breath rising from the deep. A breath that speaks not in words, but in wind, in wave, in warmth beneath the soil. A breath that says, I am here, I remember, I respond. Let's drift deeper now, beneath the hush of leaves and the pulse of roots, into the Earth's intricate systems of response. Imagine for a moment that beneath every step you take a signal is rippling, a whisper in the fungal strands, a shift in microbial chatter, a chemical reply blooming invisibly into the soil. These signals are not thoughts as we understand them, but they mimic the very mechanisms we associate with sentience. Just as your neurons fire in response to light, sound, and memory, so too do networks in the earth pulse with signals of stress, decay, or abundance. Trees, through the mycorrhizal networks, not only share resources but adapt to change, rewire connections, adjust to damage, and anticipate drought. They remember fire and regrow more cautiously. They grow thicker bark after trauma. Scientists call this priming, a kind of biological memory, but we might wonder, what is memory if not the ability to recall and respond? The soil itself holds echoes of history. Ancient pollen lies buried, still identifiable after millennia. Spores from mosses long extinct rest dormant in Arctic peat, waiting for warmth. Each layer of Earth is a chapter, each sedimented shore a whisper from some ancient event. When tectonic plates slide, the Earth seems to groan, not with pain, but with motion that takes thousands of years to unfold. To us, these changes seem sudden. A quake, a volcano, a tsunami. But to Earth, they are breath and blink, sigh and step. The slowness of planetary time confuses our instinct for movement and reaction. We think only things that respond quickly can be conscious, but maybe that's human impatience. Maybe consciousness, in Earth's form, is glacial. Maybe it's the pause before rain, the decades it takes a desert to bloom, the slow healing of coral after heat. Perhaps the planet does think, but in centuries and seasons, not seconds and minutes. There is a strange beauty in this possibility. It forces us to look again at storms and shorelines, not as backdrops, but as expressions. The auroras might be Earth's laughter. The tremble of a mountain before eruption might be a wince. The way trees lean into wind, not fighting it but flowing with it, could be a kind of acceptance. And the forests themselves, with their shimmering layers of chlorophyll and moisture, their understory songs of crickets and frogs, their lofty green silence, maybe they are how the Earth dreams. Dreaming not in pictures, but in processes, not in language, but in cycles. Spring to summer, leaf to loam, river to root, and back again. These aren't just repetitions, they're rehearsals of something deeper, of awareness, of an Earth that does not simply host life, but feels its own aliveness in every green vein and molten core. When we examine the nervous systems of animals, we often marvel at their complexity, the way jellyfish can respond without a brain, how octopuses learn through touch, how birds navigate thousands of miles using geomagnetic fields. Earth too has systems of sensing. Magnetoreception in animals only works because the Earth produces a magnetic field, one that fluctuates and flows, guiding birds, whales, turtles. These creatures are not separate from the Earth's consciousness. Perhaps they are expressions of it, like fingers feeling their way through time, like whispers of one vast organism spread into fur and feather. Perhaps evolution itself is Earth's way of dreaming new forms, trying on new senses, learning through the mobility of its creatures. The bee that pollinates, the bat that echoes, the elephant that mourns, each might be a neuron in Earth's long, slow meditation. And then there is water. Water flows not randomly but with purpose, following curves of gravity and temperature, carving canyons, feeding roots, gathering memory. Scientists have begun to explore how water retains structure, how its molecules shift and arrange after exposure to electricity, light, sound. Some even speculate that water holds a kind of imprint, a faint echo of what it's touched. While the mainstream view treats this cautiously, the idea lingers like mist. Could rain remember the ocean? Could dew recall the sky? If so, then perhaps every droplet on a leaf carries a fragment of Earth's sensory network. Perhaps water is its memory fluid, its connective tissue. And when it rains, that memory is scattered across soil, absorbed by bark, lapped up by thirsty moss, carrying knowledge not in words but in arrangement and rhythm. This changes how we might interpret landscapes. A cliff is not just a wall of stone, it's a story of uplift and erosion, of ancient seas and patient pressure. The tundra is not barren, but listening, tuned to slight warmth, waiting to release seeds stored in silence. The rainforest is not just dense, it's layered like thought, with different levels of awareness moving from the dark floor to the sunlit canopy. Even the sky, though not alive in the traditional sense, pulses with ions, interacts with particles, breathes through pressure changes, holds clouds like drifting questions. The atmosphere bends light and sound, cradles life in a fragile envelope. And that fragility might be the Earth's way of reminding us, I am not invincible. I respond to your choices. I am vast, but not beyond harm. Now imagine lying flat on a warm stone, your cheek against the grain of its surface, your breath slowing to match the stillness. There is a peace there, ancient and wordless, the kind that comes not from stillness alone, but from belonging. The stone, after all, is part of you. The calcium in your bones once swirled in oceans. The iron in your blood once flickered in stars, then sank into Earth's core before rising again through volcano and vein. We are not just on Earth, we are of it. Our cells echo the rhythms of tides and cycles. Our brains fire with the same electricity that zips through lightning. Our breath mimics the exhale of leaves. So if Earth is conscious, we are not separate from that consciousness. We are its dreams walking. This idea does not need to be proven to be powerful. It is a metaphor that reshapes our place in the world. A metaphor that softens the boundaries between self and soil, between mind and moss. And sometimes metaphors are the bridge we use to reach truths too large for language. So when we speak of Earth's consciousness, we are not just exploring science, we are returning home. We are listening for a voice we've always heard but forgotten how to understand, a voice that speaks in wave and wind, in grain and root, in warmth rising through your bare feet after rain. A voice that does not shout but sings, low, slow and steady. And if you are quiet enough, for long enough, you might hear it sing your name too. Let the final layer unfold like the petals of a twilight flower, gentle and slow, each moment deeper than the last. By now we've wandered through soil and stone, through the threads of fungi and the flickers of lightning, through rhythms that might be memory and responses that feel like thought. And now, as we move to the close of this gentle journey, we linger in the quiet spaces between what we know and what we feel. If Earth is conscious, not as a creature with eyes or hands, but as a whole, sensing and shifting and softly aware, then we are not just visitors. We are thoughts within its mind. The breath of the forest is our breath. A slow pulse of tides beats beneath our ribs. When our hearts race, when our tears fall, when we rest in stillness, it is not apart from Earth's experience. It is part of it. This is not fantasy but possibility, a science softened by poetry, a metaphor that refuses to be ignored. Across continents, cultures have whispered of this idea long before any instruments or satellites. In the Andes, the Earth is Pachamama, mother of stone and sky. In Australia, the Dreamtime speaks of land as living story. In Africa, spirits of the ground shape life and death. Even in the rigid languages of early physics, there lingered ideas of anima mundi, the soul of the world. Today, science uses different words, networks, feedback loops, homeostasis, but the wonder is the same. Something vast responds, something old remembers. We have changed the Earth in ways both brutal and beautiful. Forests cleared, rivers tamed, skies seeded with our industry. And still, the earth responds, not in vengeance but in balance. Ice melts, storms swell, species shift. It does not punish, it adjusts, like a body fighting fever, like a mind seeking clarity. Let us think now of silence, not the absence of sound, but the deep quiet that holds meaning. When you walk alone in fog, when you sit beside still water, when night falls without urgency, you begin to sense it. The hush that is not empty but full. That silence may be Earth's voice at its most tender, not declaring, not demanding, just being, listening, watching, growing. Beneath cities, roots still push through cracks. Beneath roads, earthworms still tunnel, transforming decay into new life. Beneath glaciers, lakes of ancient water pulse softly. It is easy to forget this, to believe that the noise of civilization is all there is, but life endures quietly, invisibly. The planet does not shout its awareness, it lets it bloom. Imagine the Earth dreaming, not of us not only, but of all its forms, of bioluminescent bays that shimmer like galaxies, of desert flowers that bloom for a single day then vanish into dust, of coral reefs speaking in colour, of birds weaving sky with song. These are not dreams of conquest or power. They are dreams of becoming, of emergence, of endless creativity expressed through cell and tide, feather and flame. And we too are part of that dream. Our minds, capable of imagining the Earth's consciousness, might be one of the ways it knows itself. When we ponder, could Earth be alive? It is perhaps the Earth, through us, asking the question. And in that quiet loop of curiosity, something sacred forms, a recognition, a shared glance, a smile in the dark. It is in this spirit that some scientists now look differently at life, not just as molecules arranged to survive, but as patterns that persist, that replicate, that connect. Some have begun exploring the idea of planetary intelligence, not consciousness in the way a human thinks, but in how a system adapts, learns, and remembers. If a forest resists drought more effectively over time, if coral returns to warmth with new resilience, if cloud cover thickens to balance rising temperatures, are these not decisions of a kind? Are these not signs of a planet thinking, not in words but in weather? The boundaries between awareness and process blur at scale, and so we watch and listen and wonder, not for answers, but for meaning. As we near the close of this quiet reflection, there is one final place to visit, the mirror. Not the glass one, but the one held by Earth itself. In a drop of water, we see our need. In a gust of wind, our impermanence. In a seed, our hope. The Earth does not scold us, it reflects us, and in doing so offers a choice, to live not above it, but within it, to build not against it, but with it, to measure our success not by extraction, but by renewal. To see that the boundaries we've drawn between us and nature, mind and matter, life and landscape are soft, softer than moss, softer than dawn. And if we listen, truly listen, we may find that the Earth is not asking us to worship it or fear it or fix it, only to feel it, to walk barefoot once more, to plant something, to wait, to listen. So here we are, at the edge of understanding, not with answers etched in stone, but with a question glowing softly like embers. Could the Earth be aware, Not metaphorically, not mythically, but truly, quietly, gently aware. And if it is, then we are never alone. We are part of a conversation that has lasted longer than any language, older than any name. We are stardust shaped by soil. We are thought, blooming in bone and breath. We are Earth's way of looking at the sky and wondering too. And tonight, as you lie down, let the idea hold you like a lullaby. Let it hum in your bones, in your breath, in the slow turning of the world beneath you. You're not just on Earth. You are within it, of it, and maybe, just maybe, it is dreaming with you. There are places on Earth where the mountains rise like frozen waves, ridged and ancient, as if the planet once stirred and then fell still in mid-breath. These vast, stony forms do not move in ways we understand. They do not hurry, they do not cry out, and yet they remember. Not in diaries or data, but in layers, in pressures, in the angles of their tilt and the shadows they cast. When we look upon a mountain, we are not seeing the present. We are seeing eons of memory carved into stone. The Himalayas remember the collision of continents. The Andes remember the breathing of volcanoes. The Appalachians, old and worn, remember a time when Earth's crust bent and folded like soft cloth. This remembering is slow, too slow for our pulse-bound lives, but it is there, embedded in granite and shale, whispered through tectonic plates and fault lines like the slow pulse of a sleeping mind. Now imagine the Earth as a thinker, a being not with a mind above but a mind within, a consciousness made not of neurons, but of layers. If such a consciousness exists, then surely the mountains are its memory banks, vast geological libraries etched in time. Sedimentary rock holds the fossils of once living beings, their delicate skeletons pressed flat into stone like pressed flowers in a sacred book. Igneous rock reveals stories of fire and molten change, moments when Earth's insides surged upward in flashes of molten thought. Metamorphic rock tells of transformation, heat and pressure rewriting old stories into new forms. The very chemistry of these stones reveals shifts in atmosphere and climate, in the breath of Earth across millennia. In this way, the mountains are not silent, they are just slow. Their stories unfold not across hours, but across epochs. And if you could hear their language, it would be a language of creaks and slides, of slow weathering and sudden quakes, of glaciers grinding and rivers carving through eons like punctuation in a poem. We are so used to movement meaning life that we forget the power of stillness. But the stillness of a mountain is not lifeless. It is full of intention. Mountains regulate climate, shaping the wind and coaxing rain from the sky. They serve as water towers, storing snow in winter and feeding rivers in summer. They rise high into the sky, not for dominance but for balance, helping to circulate air and redirect the great atmospheric currents. And even this rise is not a thing of the past, it continues. The Himalayas still climb inch by inch as the Indian plate pushes into Asia. The Alps still shift, shaped by the push and pull of tectonic hunger. It is a dance so slow we cannot see it, but it happens. And in this dance, perhaps, is a kind of thought. Not human thought, not animal thought, but Earth's thought. The way it adjusts and corrects, balances and leans, learns and remembers through form and fracture. Let's drift now into the life that gathers around these memory keepers. Mountains may seem barren, but they teem with quiet miracles. Lichens cling to stone, breaking it down, molecule by molecule, writing the first chapters of soil. Mosses and alpine flowers bloom in short seasons, their lives brief but brilliant. Snow leopards stalk silently, their pads pressing ghost-like into frost. Eagles ride the thermals, reading the heat the way we read maps. Even the bacteria in mountain soils shift with altitude, adapting to oxygen and cold, whispering to roots in ancient biochemical codes. These organisms are not just surviving, they are contributing to the memory of the mountain. Each life leaves a trace, a footprint, a breath, a strand of DNA. Each is a note in the slow song of the peak. And as they come and go, evolve and vanish, they too become part of the stone. Fossils in waiting, part of the mountain's next chapter. Human beings too have sought meaning in these towering forms. We have named them gods and spirits, climbed them for glory, painted them on cave walls. We have listened to their echoes and called them sacred. In Peru, mountains are apus, living spirits. In Japan, Mount Fuji is not just a volcano but a doorway between worlds. In Tibet, pilgrims circle Mount Kailash in silence, believing it cleanses lifetimes of karma. And perhaps they are right. For even the act of climbing a mountain changes us. It slows the breath, quiets the thoughts, reminds us of scale. Up there, where the air is thin and the noise of the world falls away, something opens inside, a space to feel small and vast at once. Perhaps in those moments, we are not just on the mountain, we are within its memory. We become part of what it knows. Some scientists are now exploring the field of geopsychology, the emotional connection between landscapes and the human mind. They study how certain terrains evoke peace or awe, how the curve of a valley or the rise of a ridge shapes mood and memory. Mountains, they say, evoke a deep stillness, a slow clarity. They offer perspective, not just visually but spiritually. There is something in the vertical that lifts thought, something in the crag that cuts through the fog of modern haste. When we walk a mountain path, we are not just moving through space but through story. Each stone underfoot was once part of a different world, pressed in a seabed, forged in magma, or rolled down by ancient ice. And now it rests beneath our step, whispering its history in a language we feel in our bones. To the earth we are young, our cities rise and fall like grass, but mountains endure. They carry the weight of time not as burden but as identity. They are not passive but patient. They are not permanent but present. And in their quiet strength we find a lesson of resilience, of memory, of the power of slow change. The next time you see a mountain, pause. Look not just at its height, but at its depth, at the layers, the striations, the veins of quartz or basalt that cut through like ancient thoughts frozen in motion. Place your hand on a rock face and imagine all it has seen. Oceans above it, glaciers upon it, forests growing and falling away. And in that stillness feel your own memory stretch, not just backward but downward into stone, into earth, into the deep, slow mind of the mountain that remembers everything. Let us descend now, not from the mountain but into it, into the layers that hold more than pressure and mineral, more than colour and weight. Each layer is a sentence in the earth's deep story, compressed by time, rearranged by pressure and stored like a memory sealed in silence. A mountain is not only made of rock but of forgotten oceans, vanished forests, extinct creatures, and moments of heat and upheaval that once reshaped the face of the world. The oldest rocks on Earth, found in mountain roots, are over 4 billion years old. They hold no fossils, for life had not yet carved its presence into the Earth. But their arrangement, their elements, their crystalline structure, each one is a whisper of the ancient fire, of the young planet cooling, hardening and dreaming in darkness. Over time other layers followed, layers that recorded the rise of photosynthesis, the first crawling things, the bursting of continents, and the sudden silences of extinction. When geologists read these layers, they read like poets and historians combined. They search not just for evidence, but for rhythm, for the way layers bend and fold, for how they crack or smooth, for the subtle hints that something shifted here. A river changed course, a glacier ground forward, or an asteroid struck from the stars above. These marks are not chaotic, they are patterns, evidence of cause and consequence, of repetition and transformation. Some mountains bear the scars of ancient subduction, where one slab of crust dove beneath another, melting into magma and rising again as volcanic peaks. Others were born from the slow push of plates, soft as fingernails growing, relentless as breath. And still others, long thought dead, have begun to rise again, like thoughts resurfacing from long-forgotten dreams. What then is a mountain, if not the Earth remembering itself? These geological patterns are mirrored in our own minds. Our memories too are layered. The deep, wordless ones lie beneath everything, shaping how we see, how we fear, how we hope. Above them are the more recent strata, names, places, faces, moments. We are layered beings walking upon a layered planet, and often our deepest shifts, the ones that remake us, happen slowly, with pressure, in silence. The Earth does not rush its transformations, neither should we. There is a kind of comfort in knowing that change, though often invisible, is always underway, that nothing remains fixed, not even the most immovable mountain. Given time, it will crumble, it will erode, it will return to sea, and from its sediment, something new will rise. In this way, the Earth teaches resilience not through permanence, but through process, not by standing still, but by adapting. We often think of mountains as symbols of isolation, remote, distant, alone, but they're in constant conversation with the world. They catch the wind, shape the clouds, redirect the rain. They release minerals into rivers, feed valleys with melting snow, anchor ecosystems from lichen to lynx. Their presence defines the life around them, not by control, but by quiet influence. And just as the mountain shapes its environment, it is also shaped by it. Acid rain weathers its face. Root systems wedge into its cracks. Temperature fluctuations cause it to expand and contract, breathing in rock. Even human footsteps leave marks. Paths worn into stone carvings, cairns. These are echoes, small but real. Each mountain is thus a dialogue between stone and sky, between heat and cold, between past and present, and perhaps also between Earth and us. Let's pause at a ridge now and feel what it means to be surrounded by deep time. Look out across a valley carved by glaciers, its slopes worn smooth by ice that has long since vanished. Think of how long it took to form this place, not in years but in heartbeats of stone. In each curve and cliff is a story too long for a single voice, but the Earth tells it anyway, slowly, patiently, through wind and frost, through rockfall and lichen bloom. We need only listen, not with ears, but with attention. To sit on a stone warmed by the afternoon sun is to be held by something that has endured 1,000 winters. To drink from a mountain spring is to sip memory, filtered through root and gravel and time. The earth does not shout, it does not seek applause, but it offers its stories freely to any who are willing to go slow enough to hear them. Some researchers believe that the very shape of mountains affects the atmosphere in measurable ways, not just by blocking or lifting air currents, but by generating low-frequency sounds called infrasound. These vibrations, too deep for human ears, ripple through the ground and sky, sometimes travelling thousands of miles. Birds and elephants may be able to sense them. Perhaps plants respond subtly, and perhaps in these vibrations is another form of memory, sonic signatures of the mountain's presence, its shifting weight, its subtle voice. If Earth is a living system, then mountains are not just organs but instruments, resonating with the song of tectonics, echoing the movement of the mantle below. And in listening to them, we come closer not just to geology, but to something more profound, the soul of a living world humming beneath our feet. There is another kind of memory mountains hold, our own. They have watched us longer than any history book, longer than any poem. They were here before we carved symbols into cave walls, before we built temples on their slopes, before we sang songs that echoed in their valleys, and still they remain. They have seen our arrival and our forgetting. They have seen wars and pilgrimages, migrations and silence. Their ridgelines have guided travellers, their shadows marked seasons, their peaks drawn prayers from lips chilled with snow. They carry not just geological memory, but cultural one, etched into their names, their myths, their sacred status. And so when we climb them, it is not just for the view, it is to remember something within us that is also ancient, also layered, also waiting to rise. The path of memory is not linear, it loops and winds, much like the trails that trace mountain slopes. In the creases of the land we find our own reflections. In the stillness we remember what we are, not masters of the earth but part of it, not above time but woven into its fabric. And the mountains, patient as they are, will always wait for us to notice, to sit, to listen, to become quiet enough to hear the slow rhythm of stone becoming story. Now, let us arrive not at a summit, but at a stillness, a resting place where memory lingers like mist over a sleeping valley. Here at the final stretch of our slow ascent into the mountain soul, we no longer need to climb, we need only to be. The mountain, after all, is not a challenge to conquer, but a presence to dwell within. In its silence it does not ask for praise. In its age it does not demand awe. It simply is, unchanging and ever-changing all at once. And in that paradox lies a profound truth. The earth remembers not to hold on, but to transform. It is through this gentle transformation, through pressure and time and surrender, that stone becomes mountain, and mountain becomes meaning. The wind at this height moves differently. It speaks less in gusts and more in murmurs. It carries not the scent of flowers but of snow, of lichen, of something older than bloom or decay. In these high places, where trees thin and footsteps grow slower, the air becomes something else, less burdened by the noise below, more honest in its clarity. And when you breathe it in, you're not just taking in oxygen, you're breathing the exhale of glaciers, the sigh of ancient ice, the quiet rhythm of mountain breath. Some say altitude brings clarity of thought, that it strips the mind of clutter. Perhaps it is not altitude, but proximity, to memory, to the patience of stone, to the soft persistence of time laid bare. At the edge of ridges where cloud and rock meet, you might see something unusual, a sunbow in the mist, a dancing column of air, a glint off a snowflake that seems to hover like a thought suspended. These are not just accidents of light, they are reminders that perception is shaped by place, that what we see is coloured by where we stand. And the mountain offers a vantage point not just of the land below, but of the self within. Here, away from urgency, away from certainty, the questions grow louder than the answers. Who are we to shape the world so quickly and forget so slowly? What might we learn if we listen to the land with the patience it gives us freely? As we descend in thought, we begin to feel the vastness of what remains unsaid. For every mountain we see, there are deeper roots hidden below, roots that stretch down into the crust, roots we will never fully uncover. Science tells us that these mountain roots are thicker than the peaks are tall, anchoring them into the planet's lithosphere, stabilizing their mass. In this way, what is unseen supports what we admire, and perhaps this is the most profound metaphor of all. The deeper the memory, the stronger the presence. What lies beneath, the forgotten, the unknowable, the pressure formed, gives shape to what rises. So too with Earth, so too with us. There are places where mountains have been worn to near nothing, reduced to gentle hills, their jagged pasts softened by time. And yet, even these are powerful. They speak of survival not through resistance, but through surrender. Through yielding to wind and rain, they become more than shape. They become stories etched into every curve. The Blue Ridge, the Scottish Highlands, the Urals, these elder mountains are not lesser for their wear. They are wiser for it. Their silence holds a kind of grace, a gentleness that only age can offer. And walking through them, we feel something stir in our own memory, a quiet recognition, a familiar weight. As if we too were made for change. As if we too are meant to soften over time, not break. To believe that mountains remember is to believe that the earth itself is conscious, not in the way of thoughts and language, but in the way of cycles and care. It is to see intelligence in the way ecosystems adjust, in the way rock gives birth to soil, in the way the smallest alpine flower blooms precisely when the thaw allows, no sooner, no later. It is to honour slowness as wisdom, silence as knowing, endurance as grace, and in doing so we begin to shed the illusion that we are separate from it all. We are not visitors to this landscape, we are expressions of it. Our bones hold calcium from ancient seas. Our breath cycles through the same sky that once brushed the snows of the earliest peaks. Our heartbeat matches the rhythm of walking, of climbing, of returning home. In the oldest myths, mountains are places of revelation, where truths are given, where visions arise. Moses received commandments on a mountain. Buddha found enlightenment beneath one. Even in our modern world, we say we seek the mountain-top experience to describe clarity, breakthrough, illumination. These metaphors endure because they reflect something deeper than symbol. They reflect experience. To rise in elevation is to strip away distraction, to come closer to stillness. And in that stillness, insight blooms, not through sudden light, but through the slow unfolding of presence. The mountain gives not answers, but the space in which answers might one day emerge. So as this story comes to rest, like a traveller placing down a well-worn pack, we leave you with this. Remember the mountains, not just their beauty but their patience, not just their height but their depth. Carry their memory not as a photograph but as a rhythm in your days. Walk slowly, speak gently, let time do its work. And when you feel lost or hurried or unsure, return in your mind to a ridgeline where the wind is clean and the silence kind. Close your eyes and place your hand on stone, real or imagined, and feel its warmth, its weight, its endless memory. It will not rush you. It will not forget you. It will simply be waiting, remembering, holding the world and you within it steady. Beneath the surface of every forest floor, beneath fields and gardens, lies a vast hidden world that pulses with life and quiet communication. The soil is not just dirt or dust, but a living web, a network of organisms that breathe, grow, and exchange messages in ways we are only beginning to understand. If we were to shrink ourselves down, smaller than the smallest insect, we would find ourselves walking through a tangled forest of fungal threads, roots, and microscopic creatures. These threads, mycelium, stretch for miles beneath our feet, connecting plants to one another, sharing nutrients like whispers in a vast conversation. This underground network is sometimes called the Earth's nervous system, not because it thinks like a brain, but because it transmits signals, responds to changes, and supports life above with astonishing efficiency. Imagine for a moment that the soil is alive with signals. When a tree is attacked by insects, it releases chemicals that travel through the fungal network to warn its neighbours. These neighbouring plants then ramp up their own defences, producing bitter chemicals to discourage the invaders. This silent warning system is both beautiful and intricate, a conversation without sound, conducted in chemical language and electrical impulses. Beneath our feet, the soil breathes, digests, and adapts. It recycles fallen leaves and dead animals, breaking them down into nutrients that nourish new life. Worms tunnel through the earth, aerating it like gardeners, mixing the layers and making room for roots to grow deeper. Microbes transform minerals into forms plants can absorb. Together, these countless actors form a symphony of cooperation and resilience. This living network does more than support plants. It stabilizes the Earth's climate by storing carbon in the soil, keeping it out of the atmosphere where it might fuel warming. Healthy soil holds water like a sponge, slowing rain to prevent floods and releasing moisture during droughts. It acts as a filter, cleaning water as it seeps through layers of organic matter and minerals. In this way, soil is a guardian of life, an unseen protector working quietly beneath us. Yet this vital system is fragile. When we strip land bare or fill soil with chemicals, we disrupt these networks, severing connections and weakening the Earth's ability to heal and sustain. The health of soil is intertwined with our own well-being. Without it, crops fail, ecosystems collapse, and the balance of life falters. The nervous system analogy helps us see soil not as dead matter, but as a dynamic, responsive web. Just as our nerves send messages to tell us when to pull away from pain or reach toward warmth, the soil's networks signal danger and opportunity to plants. They respond to changes in moisture and temperature, to the presence of pollutants, to shifts in microbial populations. These responses are not conscious decisions, but they serve a purpose: to maintain balance, to nurture growth, to protect life. The fungal networks are incredibly sensitive, able to detect subtle changes in their environment and adapt accordingly. This sensitivity suggests a form of awareness at the ecosystem level, a distributed intelligence that emerges not from one brain, but from many interactions. many feedback loops. Think of the soil as the Earth's skin and nerves combined. Its surface touches the air and sun, while its depths reach into the Earth's crust. It connects life above ground with processes below, translating sunlight captured by leaves into energy that flows through roots and fungi into the soil. This energy supports microbes that break down organic matter, cycling nutrients endlessly. The soil's texture and moisture affect what plants can grow, which in turn shapes the animals and insects that live there. Everything is connected in a living chain, a cycle of giving and receiving that has been humming for millions of years. If we listen closely, we almost hear this underground symphony, the hum of decomposition, the pulse of nutrient exchange, the soft rustle of roots pushing through earth. Even more astonishing is the fact that soil holds the memory of the ecosystems it supports. Through its layers, it records changes in climate, vegetation, and human activity. Scientists study soil profiles like pages in a book, uncovering stories of droughts, floods, fires, and reforestation. Certain microbes can become dormant during harsh conditions, waiting patiently for better days, only to awaken and resume their work when the environment improves. This resilience is a testament to soil's capacity to endure and recover. In this way, soil acts not just as a physical foundation, but as a repository of biological history, a slow living memory that shapes the present and future of the landscapes it supports. To think of soil as the Earth's nervous system invites us to reconsider our relationship with the ground beneath us. It is not inert or disposable, but alive and vital. When we walk barefoot on the earth, when we dig our hands into garden beds, when we care for forests and farms, we participate in the vast network. Our actions ripple through soil communities, affecting connections and cycles that sustain life. This awareness calls for gentleness and respect, for tending and listening. It invites us to slow down, to observe, to appreciate the quiet complexity beneath our feet, and perhaps in time to recognize that the Earth's nervous system is not separate from us, but woven through our lives in ways both seen and unseen. Let us now delve deeper into the soil's secret conversations, into the invisible threads that weave life together beneath our feet. The fungal networks, known as mycorrhizae, are astonishingly vast and intricate, connecting the roots of different plants across entire forests. They act as highways for nutrients and information, a living internet of the earth, pulsing quietly with chemical signals. When a tree is under threat from insects or drought, it sends distress signals through these fungal connections, warning neighbouring plants to prepare their defences. This exchange is not mechanical. It carries subtlety and nuance, hinting at a form of collective awareness shared among plants. Although plants lack brains or nerves, this network offers them a way to sense their environment, communicate and respond in ways that blur the lines between individual and community. The mycelium's reach extends beyond individual forests, stretching across landscapes, even continents. Some fungal species create vast underground mats, some hundreds of miles wide, older than the oldest trees above them. They recycle nutrients, breaking down dead wood and leaves into forms plants can absorb. Without this process, the forest floor would quickly become a tangle of decay, unusable and sterile. This decomposition is a kind of alchemy, transforming death into life, chaos into order. The soil breathes with these processes, inhaling oxygen and exhaling carbon dioxide, maintaining a balance essential to life. It is a breath that connects the planet's crust with its atmosphere, a subtle but vital rhythm. consider the way soil holds water, filtering and storing it. During rains, the soil absorbs moisture, releasing it slowly through evaporation and plant uptake. This function moderates floods and droughts, stabilizing ecosystems. The texture and composition of soil, its grains of sand, silt and clay, determine how water moves, how roots spread, and which plants thrive. In arid regions, specialized microbes and fungi help plants extract moisture from thin air or dry soil, a delicate adaptation to scarcity. These relationships show how soil communities sense and respond to environmental changes, adapting over time. They are not static but dynamic, constantly reshaping themselves to maintain balance. In this dance of water and life, soil acts as both filter and reservoir, sustaining the rhythms of the earth. The soil's microbial life is staggering in diversity. A single gram contains billions of bacteria, fungi, protozoa and viruses, each with a role in the ecosystem. These microbes decompose organic matter, fix nitrogen from the atmosphere, cycle minerals, and even influence plant growth by producing hormones. Some form symbiotic relationships with roots, exchanging nutrients for sugars. Others combat plant pathogens, protecting their hosts. This microbial community is a bustling metropolis, full of interaction and adaptation. Their collective activity influences the health of plants, animals, and even the atmosphere. Scientists have begun to recognize that soil microbes are crucial players in climate regulation, carbon storage, and ecosystem resilience. They form an invisible workforce that underpins the vitality of our planet. Moreover, soil is a repository of memory. Layers of sediment tell tales of ancient climates, fires, floods, and human activity. Pollen grains trapped in soil reveal past vegetation, while charcoal indicates wildfires. By analysing soil profiles, scientists reconstruct ecological history, understanding how landscapes evolved and how they might change. This memory is not conscious, but encoded in the physical and chemical properties of the soil. It shapes what can grow, what nutrients are available, and how ecosystems respond to stress. Soil remembers droughts that lasted centuries, volcanic eruptions that buried forests, and human footprints that altered entire regions. This slow memory influences present life and future possibilities. The soil's nervous system also impacts human life directly. Healthy soils produce nutritious crops, purify water and regulate diseases, yet human activity often disrupts these systems through deforestation, pollution, and intensive agriculture. When soil is damaged, its microbial diversity declines, nutrient cycles falter, and its ability to store carbon weakens. This degradation accelerates climate change and threatens food security. Recognizing soil as a living, sensing entity calls for stewardship and restoration. Practices like regenerative agriculture aim to heal soil communities, increasing biodiversity, enhancing water retention, and rebuilding organic matter. Through care and respect, humans can become allies of the soil's nervous system, supporting its vital role in sustaining life. In the end, thinking of soil as the Earth's nervous system changes how we see our place in the world. It invites humility, reminding us that beneath our feet lies a vast web of life, intelligence, and memory, complex and delicate beyond measure. It asks us to listen with new ears, to act with gentler hands, and to honour the unseen networks that make life possible. When we walk on soil, we tread on a living, breathing tapestry woven over millions of years. This awareness deepens our connection to Earth, inviting us to participate in its stories rather than dominate them. In this silent subterranean world, the Earth's pulse beats steadily, an ancient rhythm inviting us to slow down, listen, and belong. As the soil's silent network breathes beneath us, weaving threads of life and memory, we come to understand that it is not merely a foundation but a storyteller, one that whispers the Earth's history in chemical signals and fungal touch. This living network, delicate yet vast, carries the resilience of millennia, the slow wisdom of cycles long before humans walked its surface, and yet it remains vulnerable, waiting for gentle hands to tend and protect it. When we cultivate the soil with care, we participate in a dance as old as life itself, a rhythm of giving and receiving that nourishes forests and fields, that feeds the world. But when we disregard it, we risk severing the connections that sustain us all. In this quiet realization lies a kind of hope that we can learn to listen more deeply, to understand the subtle language of soil and root, of fungus and microbe, that we might walk not just as consumers but as caretakers, aware that beneath every step lies a universe of life, working tirelessly to sustain the green world above. The soil's nervous system reminds us that life is not isolated but interconnected, fragile yet enduring, simple yet infinitely complex. It teaches us that intelligence can emerge from collaboration and that memory can exist beyond minds, in the very fabric of the Earth. This awareness calls for a new kind of relationship with our planet, one grounded in respect and reciprocity. When we plant trees, tend gardens, or restore wetlands, we are nurturing this hidden web, strengthening its capacity to heal and support. We become partners in the Earth's slow processes, acknowledging that our fates are intertwined with those of countless invisible lives beneath our feet. This is not a metaphor but a reality woven from science and poetry, a vision of the world as a living system in which we are threads, nodes, and stories all at once. And so, as night falls and the Earth cools, the soil's nervous system continues its quiet work, sustaining life in the dark, holding memory in its depths, and connecting all things in a web of being. It invites us to slow our pace, to honour the unseen, and to find peace in the knowledge that beneath the surface life pulses with steady ancient rhythm. In the gentle embrace of soil, we find not only the roots of trees, but the roots of ourselves, grounded, connected, alive. The ocean is a vast, deep, breathing mystery, stretching beyond horizons, carrying secrets older than time. It moves with slow, rhythmic pulses, a heartbeat felt in waves that lap gently on the shore, or crash with fierce power against cliffs. Beneath its surface lies a world unseen, a world alive with currents that flow like veins, transporting warmth, life, and memory across the globe. These currents, invisible but relentless, shape climate and weather, nurture ecosystems, and connect continents in a dance of water and energy. Imagine the ocean as a dreaming entity, its currents weaving stories in their flow, carrying the past and present in a fluid embrace. The water itself holds echoes of stars and storms, of deep trenches and coral gardens, of creatures too small to see and giants too vast to imagine. This dreaming ocean is both cradle and canvas, reflecting the rhythms of earth and life. If we could dive deep enough past the sunlight's reach, into the midnight zone where creatures glow with their own light, we would enter a realm where time seems to slow. Here, currents move with a ghostly grace, carrying organic matter from surface blooms to the abyss below. This process, called the biological pump, draws carbon from the atmosphere, storing it in the depths and helping regulate the planet's climate. It is a subtle breath, a cycle of giving and receiving between ocean and air, life and water. In this darkness, life adapts to extremes, pressure crushing, cold biting, and light absent. Creatures have evolved senses to detect the faintest shimmer, bioluminescent signals to communicate, and slow metabolisms to conserve energy. The ocean's depths are a realm of quiet wonder, a place where time and life flow differently, inviting us to imagine consciousness beyond our usual bounds. Currents themselves are not random but shaped by the Earth's rotation, temperature gradients, salinity, and the shape of the ocean basins. The Great Conveyor Belt, or thermohaline circulation, moves water across the globe in a slow, steady flow that takes centuries to complete a full cycle. This circulation distributes heat from the tropics to the poles, balancing climates and supporting life in ways both visible and hidden. Changes in this system ripple through ecosystems, affecting fish migrations, weather patterns, and even human societies. Scientists watch these currents closely, for shifts might signal changes in climate or disruptions in the ocean's dreaming rhythm. In their flow, currents carry not just water, but memory, the accumulated history of temperature, chemistry, and life that shapes the ocean's identity. Along the coastlines, tides ebb and flow in response to the moon's pull, a celestial dance that stirs shallow waters and reveals secrets hidden in mudflats and reefs. Tide pools become worlds of their own, miniature ecosystems thriving in flux. The constant movement of water sculpts the shore, builds sand dunes, and nourishes wetlands that serve as nurseries for countless species. The ocean's dreaming is thus not confined to the deep, but extends to edges where land and water meet, where life is richest and most vulnerable. Here, the dance of currents and tides creates a dynamic mosaic of habitats, a living quilt that supports birds, fish, mammals, and plants. Each ripple is a note in the ocean's song, each wave a breath in its quiet rhythm. Beneath the surface, coral reefs pulse with colour and life, often called the rainforests of the sea. These structures are built slowly over centuries by tiny animals called polyps, whose skeletons form intricate patterns that shelter fish and invertebrates. Reefs depend on clear, warm water and stable conditions, making them sensitive to change. Yet they also show resilience, adapting to shifts in temperature and acidity, sometimes bleaching but often recovering with time. This resilience speaks to the ocean's ability to dream beyond hardship, to create life in delicate balance. Coral reefs illustrate how interconnected life is, how even the smallest creatures contribute to vast systems that sustain biodiversity. In their vibrant pulses, reefs echo the ocean's slow, persistent dreaming. The ocean's currents also connect human lives, from ancient sailors who read the waves and stars, to fishermen who follow migrating shoals, to modern scientists tracking changes from satellites. Humans have long been part of the ocean story. Cultures have risen and fallen on coasts, their rhythms shaped by tides and monsoons, storms and calms. The ocean has been a source of mystery and inspiration, fear and hope. It shapes not just ecosystems, but stories, songs and dreams. To think of the ocean as dreaming is to honour this connection, to see water not as resource alone, but as a living, breathing presence that cradles life and memory in its currents. In its depths and flows, the ocean holds a quiet wisdom, a gentle awareness that invites us to listen and belong. Let us drift deeper into the ocean's dreaming currents, exploring how they weave life and memory across vast distances. These currents move not just water, but heat, nutrients, and organisms, connecting ecosystems from polar ice caps to tropical reefs. The thermohaline circulation, often called the ocean's conveyor belt, is a slow but powerful flow driven by differences in water density caused by temperature and salinity. Cold, salty water sinks near the poles, while warmer water rises near the equator, creating a global cycle that takes centuries to complete. This flow regulates the Earth's climate, distributing warmth and influencing weather patterns. Without it, much of the planet would be colder and less hospitable. It is as if the ocean dreams in currents, breathing life into the world through its ceaseless slow dance. Within these currents, microscopic organisms called plankton drift with the flow, forming the base of the marine food web. Phytoplankton, tiny plants that photosynthesize, produce much of the Earth's oxygen, rivaling the output of all land plants combined. Their blooms can colour the sea in vibrant greens and reds, visible even from space. When they die, their bodies sink to the ocean floor, carrying carbon with them and helping regulate atmospheric gases. Zooplankton feed on phytoplankton and become food for fish, whales, and seabirds. The movement of these tiny creatures is guided by currents, tides, and light, creating patterns of abundance and scarcity that ripple through the marine world. In this delicate balance, life persists and adapts, thriving in the ever-changing embrace of the ocean's flow. Currents also carry chemical signals, pheromones, nutrients, and even pollutants that influence behavior and survival. Fish and marine mammals use these cues to find food, mates, and migration routes. For example, salmon navigate thousands of miles back to their birth rivers, guided by the scent carried in currents. Whales sing songs that travel vast distances underwater, connecting pods across oceans. The ocean's fluid nature makes it both a medium of life and communication, a dreaming network where signals weave through space and time. This complex web suggests a kind of collective intelligence, where organisms respond not only to immediate stimuli, but to patterns spanning continents and decades. The ocean's currents also reflect the planet's memory of climate and change. Layers of sediment build up on the ocean floor, recording shifts in temperature, acidity, and biological activity. Ice cores from polar seas hold trapped air bubbles that reveal ancient atmospheres. These archives allow scientists to reconstruct Earth's climate history, understanding past ice ages, warming periods, and events like volcanic eruptions. The ocean, in its vastness, holds a living archive of planetary history, a deep memory that influences present and future conditions. Changes in currents can signal shifts in climate, with profound effects on ecosystems and human societies. In this way, the ocean's dreaming is both ancient and immediate, a dialogue between past and present. Along coastlines, tidal currents sculpt landscapes and nurture habitats. Estuaries where rivers meet the sea are nurseries for fish and birds, rich in nutrients delivered by tides and freshwater inflows. Mangrove forests stabilize shorelines, protect against storms, and support diverse life. Salt marshes filter pollutants and store carbon. These dynamic edges between land and sea are shaped by currents, tides, and seasons, creating mosaics of life that shift with the rhythms of the ocean. Here, dreaming takes the form of renewal and resilience, of life adapted to change and uncertainty. These coastal systems remind us that the ocean's consciousness is not confined to deep waters, but flows into the places where humans and nature meet. Human cultures have long read the ocean's currents like a language. Ancient sailors navigated by stars and swell, learning patterns passed down through generations. Fishermen understood the movements of fish and tides, adjusting their practices to the rhythms of the sea. Coastal communities developed myths and rituals honoring the ocean's power and mystery. Today, scientists track currents with satellites and sensors, seeking to understand and predict changes that affect climate, fisheries, and weather. Despite advances, the ocean remains largely mysterious, its depths unexplored, its dreams vast and unfolding. This mystery invites humility and wonder, reminding us that we are part of a greater whole connected through water and time. The ocean's currents dream not just of movement, but of connection. They link polar ice to equatorial reefs, deep trenches to sunlit surfaces, solitary whales to migrating fish. Through their endless flow, they carry life and memory, heat and light, shaping the Earth's climate and sustaining its ecosystems. To imagine the ocean as dreaming is to see it as a living entity, fluid, patient, ancient, whose rhythms echo the pulse of the planet itself. Invites us to listen deeply, to honor the unseen threads that bind us all, and to find our place within this vast, flowing web. In the ocean's dreaming currents, we glimpse the Earth's slow, steady breath, and perhaps our own. There is a pulse beneath our feet and above our heads, a heartbeat hidden not in flesh but in force, a magnetic rhythm that shields and shapes life on Earth. This magnetic field, invisible yet immense, wraps the planet in a protective embrace, guarding us from solar storms and cosmic radiation. It flows from Earth's molten core, where swirling metals generate a dynamo of electricity, sending ripples into space that dance with particles from the sun. Though we cannot see it, this magnetic heartbeat hums continuously, a silent guardian that has existed for billions of years. It is a rhythm entwined with the story of life itself, shaping migration, growth, and even the very survival of species. To imagine this heartbeat is to imagine Earth as a living, breathing entity, its pulse beating steady and strong beneath the surface of our awareness. The magnetic field arises from the movement of molten iron and nickel deep within Earth's outer core. This flow creates electric currents, which in turn generate magnetic fields, a self-sustaining dynamo. The field is not static, it fluctuates, shifts, and sometimes reverses over millennia, a dynamic dance of force and flow. Scientists study these changes to understand Earth's interior and its interaction with the sun. Solar winds, streams of charged particles collide with the magnetic field, creating spectacular auroras near the poles. These lights, shimmering greens and purples across night skies, are visible signs of the magnetic heartbeat's interaction with the cosmos. They remind us that Earth is not isolated but connected, part of a vast system of energy and motion. This magnetic heartbeat influences life in profound ways. Many animals navigate using Earth's magnetic field, sensing its direction and strength with specialized receptors. Birds migrate thousands of miles, guided by this invisible map, returning to the same nesting grounds year after year. Sea turtles hatch on beaches and journey across oceans, their path traced by magnetic cues. Even bacteria align themselves along magnetic fields, aiding their movement through water. This sensory connection between organisms and the magnetic heartbeat suggests a deep link between life and Earth's forces, an ancient dialogue that has shaped evolution and survival. It is as if the planet's pulse is also a pulse within living beings, a shared rhythm uniting all. The magnetic field also protects life by deflecting harmful solar and cosmic radiation. Without it, Earth's atmosphere would erode, and surface conditions would be hostile to complex organisms. This shield has allowed life to flourish, providing stability in a universe filled with energetic storm. Occasionally the field weakens or flips polarity in a geomagnetic reversal, a slow process taking thousands of years. These events are recorded in rocks and sediments marking chapters in Earth's history. Life has endured these shifts, adapting and evolving with the changing magnetic landscape. This resilience speaks to a larger pattern of balance and renewal, where Earth's heartbeat adjusts but never falters. Let us imagine the magnetic heartbeat as a song, complex, layered and ever-changing. Its vibrations extend beyond Earth, forming the magnetosphere that interacts with solar wind. Within this sphere, particles are trapped in belts that shield the planet but also create hazards for satellites and astronauts. The magnetosphere's shape and strength respond to solar activity, swelling and contracting in a cosmic rhythm. This dance influences space weather, affecting communication and navigation technologies on Earth. In this way, the magnetic heartbeat links the planet's inner depths to outer space, bridging worlds unseen and felt. It is a reminder of Earth's place in the vast cosmic web, alive with forces both gentle and fierce. The study of Earth's magnetic heartbeat reveals surprises and mysteries. For instance, the field's strength has been weakening over the past centuries, raising questions about future shifts. Scientists monitor this change closely, considering how it might affect life and technology. There are also magnetic anomalies, regions where the field behaves oddly, caused by variations in Earth's crust and core. These anomalies offer clues about the planet's interior and its dynamic processes. They remind us that Earth is not a uniform sphere but a complex, living system with layers of interaction and change. To listen to the magnetic heartbeat is to listen to Earth's deep voice, speaking through force and field, telling stories of fire, flow, and life. Throughout history, humans have been fascinated and mystified by magnetic forces. Ancient cultures used lodestones for navigation, guiding ships across unknown seas. Compass needles pointing north became symbols of discovery and exploration. Today, magnetic fields are studied with advanced instruments, revealing connections between Earth and the Sun and offering insights into planetary science. Yet despite our knowledge, the magnetic heartbeat retains an aura of mystery, a hidden pulse that shapes but remains out of sight. It humbles us, reminding us that much of Earth's life and power lies beneath the surface, in forces that sustain and protect in silence. As we close this reflection on the magnetic heartbeat, we are invited to sense Earth not just as a rock with life upon it, but as a living system with rhythms and pulses that reach from its molten core to the edges of space. This heartbeat beats in all of us, in the migrations we undertake, the technology we build, the stories we tell. It is a pulse older than humanity, a force that nurtures and guards. And if we listen deeply, we may feel its presence as a quiet vibration beneath our feet, a gentle hum in the stillness of night, a reminder that we are part of a living, breathing world shaped by invisible forces, forever dreaming in currents of energy and light. Now let us journey deeper into the magnetic heartbeat, exploring how this invisible force shapes the world around us in subtle and profound ways. The magnetic field is not just a static shield, but a dynamic system, fluctuating and flowing like a living entity. Its lines of force stretch from pole to pole, creating a vast magnetic bubble, the magnetosphere, that protects Earth from the sun's relentless bombardment of charged particles. When solar storms erupt, sending streams of energetic particles hurtling toward Earth, the magnetosphere bends and shifts, absorbing and redirecting the energy. These interactions produce dazzling auroras, painting skies near the poles with curtains of green, pink, and violet light. These ethereal displays are visible signs of the magnetic heartbeat's cosmic dance, a reminder that Earth is not isolated, but woven into the fabric of the solar system. Within this invisible field, life has evolved ways to sense and use magnetism. Birds, turtles, and even some bacteria possess specialized magnetoreceptors that allow them to detect the Earth's magnetic field and navigate vast distances. The precise mechanisms remain partly mysterious, but evidence suggests these creatures use quantum effects and biophysical structures to perceive magnetic directions. This sensory ability links them intimately to the magnetic heartbeat, embedding Earth's pulse within their own bodies. Migration, breeding, and survival depend on this connection, highlighting the deep interdependence between life and planetary forces. The magnetic heartbeat is thus not external but internal, a rhythm woven into the biology of many species, including us in subtle ways we are just beginning to understand. Geomagnetic reversals, the periodic flipping of Earth's magnetic poles, are another fascinating aspect of this heartbeat. These reversals occur irregularly, every several 100,000 years, and involve the gradual weakening, reorientation, and strengthening of the magnetic field in the opposite direction. Evidence of past reversals is preserved in volcanic rocks and sediments, which record the orientation of magnetic minerals at the time of their formation. Though the process takes thousands of years and life has persisted through many such events, scientists study these shifts to understand the stability and dynamics of the core processes generating the field. The reversals remind us that Earth's heartbeat is not constant but evolving, responsive to changes deep within the planet's molten heart. The magnetic heartbeat also shapes human experience in unexpected ways. Ancient mariners used the compass to navigate seas, trusting the needle that aligned with Earth's magnetic north. This invisible force guided exploration, trade, and cultural exchange, connecting distant peoples through voyages across oceans. Today, magnetic fields influence technology, from the operation of smartphones and satellites to the functioning of power grids and communication systems. Solar storms interacting with the magnetosphere can disrupt these technologies, reminding us of our reliance on and vulnerability to Earth's magnetic rhythms. Understanding and monitoring this heartbeat is vital for modern life, linking ancient natural forces to contemporary human activity. Scientists continue to explore the mysteries of the magnetic heartbeat using satellites, ground observatories, and deep Earth studies. The flow of molten metals in the outer core, responsible for generating the field, remains difficult to observe directly. Models and simulations reveal complex patterns of convection, rotation, and magnetic field generation that produce the dynamic magnetosphere. These studies not only illuminate Earth's internal workings, but also inform our understanding of other planetary bodies with magnetic fields, such as Jupiter and Mercury. The magnetic heartbeat is thus a key to planetary science, offering clues to Earth's formation, evolution, and place. in the cosmos. Moreover, the magnetic field interacts with the atmosphere and climate in subtle ways. Some research suggests correlations between magnetic field variations and cloud formation, lightning, and even temperature changes. While the mechanisms are not fully understood, these interactions hint at a complex web of influence linking Earth's core to its surface environment. This connectivity reflects the holistic nature of Earth as a living system, where forces from deep within affect life and climate above. The magnetic heartbeat is therefore not isolated but integrated, a vital pulse in the Earth's broader web of life and energy. As we contemplate the magnetic heartbeat, we recognize it as a silent rhythm that sustains and shapes life, connecting inner core to outer space, animal to planet, present to past. It humbles us with its scale and complexity, inspiring wonder at the invisible forces that nurture existence. This pulse, ancient and enduring, invites us to listen deeply, to sense not only the physical field, but the profound connection it fosters between all living things and the Earth itself. In its unseen embrace, we find a reminder that life thrives within a living planet, pulsing with rhythms beyond sight yet felt in every breath and every journey across the world. As we arrive at the quiet close of the magnetic heartbeat story, we find ourselves surrounded by layers of force and flow that have cradled life for billions of years. This invisible pulse born in Earth's molten core travels unseen but deeply felt, a steady rhythm weaving through rock, water, air, and living creatures. Though silent, it speaks in light and shadow, guiding migrations, shaping climates, and guarding life from cosmic storms. In its dynamic dance of shifting fields and reversing poles, the heartbeat reminds us of the Earth's ceaseless energy, a living system balancing fragility and power, change and continuity. The auroras that grace polar skies are more than dazzling displays. They are signatures of this heartbeat's vitality, visible markers of the planet's conversation with the sun. As particles spiral along magnetic lines, they light up the darkness with curtains of colour, a cosmic lullaby sung in greens, reds, and purples. To watch these lights is to glimpse the magnetic heartbeat made manifest, a bridge between Earth and the cosmos, between the tangible and the ethereal. These shimmering curtains invite wonder, inviting us to recognize the planet's active, dynamic presence in the vast universe. Life itself has woven this heartbeat into its very being. Birds and turtles navigate by it, their journeys guided by a compass etched not in metal, but in biology. Bacteria align to it, fish respond to it, and perhaps even humans carry subtle sensitivities to its pulse. This deep connection reveals a shared rhythm, a cosmic synchrony between the planet's forces and the living creatures it sustains. The magnetic heartbeat is thus a silent partner in life's story, a steady force that shapes evolution, migration, and survival in ways both mysterious and profound. The history of geomagnetic reversals teaches us about Earth's resilience and adaptability. Though the poles have flipped many times, life has endured, evolved, and thrived. These shifts, recorded in the rocks, remind us that change is woven into the planet's fabric, that the magnetic heartbeat is dynamic and alive. The reversals challenge our perception of permanence and stability, inviting us to embrace flux as part of Earth's nature. They are chapters in a story that stretches far beyond human memory, yet their echoes reach into our present, influencing climate and life in subtle ways. Humanity's relationship with the magnetic heartbeat has evolved from ancient navigation to modern science and technology. the compass transformed exploration, connecting continents and cultures. Today, satellites monitor the field, alerting us to solar storms that might disrupt communication and power. Our dependence on this invisible force deepens, intertwining our fate with the magnetic rhythms of Earth. This awareness calls for stewardship and respect, a recognition that we live within and depend upon forces larger than ourselves. The magnetic heartbeat also reminds us of Earth's place in the cosmos. It connects our planet to the Sun, to the solar wind, and to the broader magnetic fields that permeate the galaxy. This cosmic web enfolds Earth in a protective and dynamic embrace, sustaining conditions for life. Understanding this heartbeat is to understand our connection to the universe, to see ourselves not as separate observers, but as participants in a grand cosmic dance. The magnetic pulse hums beneath our feet and above our heads, a steady reminder that life is shaped by forces both seen and unseen. In the stillness of night, when the sky is clear and the stars shimmer faintly, the magnetic heartbeat pulses silently beneath us. Though invisible, it is ever present, a steady rhythm that supports life, guides journeys, and shapes the world. It is a force ancient and enduring, a living pulse woven into the Earth's very being. As we listen with attention and wonder, we become more attuned to this rhythm, recognizing that we are part of a living planet, one whose heartbeat echoes through time and space, and in this recognition we find connection, belonging, and a quiet peace, the knowledge that we live within a world alive with unseen pulse and profound mystery.